Hi everyone, this is Super Pega, and we are here to talk about Last Epoch 1.0. As you know, Last Epoch 1.0 launched about a few days ago, and here I'm going to briefly talk about the unkillable Sentinel build that I've come up with. So the skill requirements that we'll be mainly interacting with is Smite and Healing Hands, where you cast Smite and Healing Hands will be automatically casted. So there are some item requirements for this build. So any items with the experimental affix, where it says X% of missing health gain as ward, then or you can get this affix from Unix as well. So one of the Unix is Sanguineness, right, where it says 20% of missing health gain as ward. Right, so I don't recommend this item early game, where you might not have access to legendary potential. It will work better when you have access to more legendary potential, because you need to have armor and other form of stats on your gear itself. So onto the skill requirement. You want to have Hand of Aurelius, where it says 100% chance to cast Healing Hands when Smite is directly casted, as well as Divine Barrier, where you convert Healing Hands to ward. Right, and as I've mentioned earlier, X% of missing health gain as ward, which you can get from your items. Another thing you want to do is to increase the aerial effect of Healing Hands. This can be done through Virtue of Patience as well as Bless Parish. We also want to decrease the cost of Healing Hands to 0. This can be done through Purity of Thought and Bless Parish. There are ways to increase the potency of this ward gain. Right, so one of the ways which would be to use this ward gain, Synthesis of Light, as well as ward gain upfront through Guardian's Chant. This can be found within the skill itself of Healing Hands. You can also increase and make it even more potent through other skills. Sigils, where it have Invulnerate, increased healing per active sigil. Since Healing Hands skills based on healing effectiveness, this will directly increase the potency of Healing Hands ward gain. We also have Polygram, which will increase the maximum of sigils that you have. Having more sigils means that you can have more potency from Invulnerate. Holy Aura, Phantasm node in Holy Aura gives you more cast speed, allowing you to cast Smite more frequently. Being able to cast Smite more frequently means that you'll be able to proc Healing Hands more frequently, thus increasing the potency of your skills of Healing Hands. There are also other forms of interactions to increase your potency: cast speed, attunement, and healing effectiveness, which all of this you can get through the skills I've mentioned before, as well as items. Ward retention from other skills. So we want to improve how long the ward stays on our character. One way would be through Holy Aura. Holy Aura has Shielded by Faith, which would increase your ward retention. Another way is to use items such as Strain of Souls. It has 50% ward retention and can be easily target farm. Right, belts are the easiest way to get ward retention, because you can replace your belt with very little changes to your build. So the rotation that we want to carry out when entering mats or monoliths is to first upon entering your map, you want to first cast Sigil of Hopes to achieve your maximum sigils. This will raise the potency of your healing effectiveness. Thereafter, you want to cast Healing Hands immediately to increase your ward and health. This will bring your health back to full and also increases your ward instantly. There are some good trade-offs of this build. Firstly, you can face tank bosses and ignore mechanics. Another thing is that this build can actually scale very well based on your items. If you use some form of uniques with high LP, legendary potential, you can even go up to 20k, 20,000 watt, or maybe even higher. This build is also solo self-found friendly. This means that you do not have to do trade to be able to meet the requirements of this build. It has a simple rotation with no cooldown at the start to ram your ward and practically no mana cost if done without sigils. There are also no mana cost for attack rotation, spin, since spamming smite as well as healing hands has 0 mana cost. There are some downsides of this build. Firstly, you don't really deal a lot of DPS. Secondly, you need to be at melee range for healing hands to proc and heal you. One way to mitigate this requirement or downside of this build would be to take homeward, which would then move the healing automatically onto your character. Thirdly, if you don't have enough cast speed or stun avoidance or reduced stun duration, you might die from stun. Right, so even though stuns would, after getting stunned, you get a 1 second before you can get stunned again. Right, so during that 1 second, if you don't cast fast enough to gain back the ward that you were missing, you might potentially die. Or if the stun duration is very long, because the hit was very high, the stun might take so long that you might have lost all your ward by then. And lastly, you will still need to build armor and resistances. Right, it will not allow you to remove the requirement of building armor or resistances. There are some bugs which might affect this build. One of the bugs is that healing hands do not get casted when you're casting smite directly. This happens when you're at negative mana. And down here you can see that although healing hands is 0 mana as well as smite is 0 mana, when you cast smite, healing hands does not get proc because I'm at negative mana. One way to mitigate this is to manually cast healing hands, but this is very annoying, and that also means that you must not allow yourself to be at negative mana even though there is no mana cost involved. And that's it. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have fun playing this build. Bye bye.